We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers. We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
Oh yeah, dude. There's some Nephilim shit.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit what happened to the home of the brave. These motherfuckers, they controlling us now, and no one's talking about how they made us fight to be slaves. And everybody's just walking around, heading the clouds and won't awaken to a dead in the grave. But then it's too late, we need to be ready to raise up. Welcome to the end of days. Everybody is slaves, only some are aware that the government releasing poison.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Nephilim Death Squad, the show where we hunt down and expose Nephilim shit. I am David Lee Corbo, aka The Raven. This is Top Lobster, and today we are sat with a guest who has a very interesting story, but would rather go behind sort of a veil of anonymity, which I empathize with because a lot of the topics that we talk about, they're really strange for a lot of people. Never mind if you're someone who is experiencing these things. And on my other show, The Ravens Watch, I deal with this quite a bit, and it's very understandable. A lot of the times, these are some of the first instances of folks like this sharing their own testimonies. And so for the sake of anonymity, we're just going to call our guest Colin. But without any further ado, let's get into it. Colin, how are you, dude?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. I feel like I've been quiet 2 minutes. I haven't said a word because I am so excited for this episode. This has been a long time coming. I've been following this guy and talking to this guy through this journey because I've known him since before any of this stuff popped off. And the story we're about to hear is one that would make Tony Merkel mad that he's not hearing it and interviewing it, because I think it's one of the most fascinating and timely stories of, just this year or whatever's to come. So, Colin, go ahead.
Well,
Dave.
I just want to say I have seen some of the cliff notes from this and sort of the highlight reel, and it's really intriguing. I think it would be best to start from the beginning of this. Although, if you feel that there's a better place, Colin, then so be it. But why don't you go ahead and take us away from wherever you see fit?
I'll give you a little information about myself. I'm just my name's Colin. I'm 37. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm a father of 3. I'm just a regular dude. I had recently gone through a divorce about 5 years back, and subsequent to that, it put me into a pretty dark place mentally. That brought me up until this year in January when I had got my hands on some psilocybin mushrooms in an attempt to help. I'd heard about the healing qualities of psilocybin, what it can do for mental health. So I figured, what the hell, I'd give it a shot. And that's what I did, but unbeknownst to me, that I opened up a doorway within myself that I was completely unaware existed prior to any of this. And it ended with the climax of these experiences with what I call a consciousness abduction experience, where they told me they were upgrading me for an upcoming war. So that's the gist of what we're going to be talking about.
This story,
So, go ahead, Top.
it fascinates me so much because, again, to really ride Tony Merkel. One of the first things I heard from him was on Tinfoil Hat, where he tells this story that's like an aside after he tells his initial story. And the second story is better than the one that he came there to tell. And he's talking about the guy, I think his name, they were calling him Ron, that he basically made an agreement with something and is like switching over between realms to fight this war on the other side that's happening. He's doing stuff constantly. There's like even a book to corroborate it. I don't know if you guys have seen the episode, but the book is like, it's like fiction written from a third-hand perspective of someone talking about Ron. So it's all there to like really corroborate what the hell this guy was doing. But Colin's story seems kind of similar, or the entities might be similar to whatever is going on with that guy Ron.
Yeah, that whole concept of war, right? Being equipped for war, being upgraded for war, engaging in some sort of war. I think within our community, and our community being, right, like Top and I, we have a foot in the paranormal, in conspiracy, occultism, cultural topics, and I think that is because they all blend together. And within that, there is a lot of this idea of, I mean, even in my mind, it brings to me Whitley Strieber and the supposed war underground. Where he was I think an architect who was tasked with building deep underground military bases for the government, ends up coming into contact with entities underground where he finds that there's a whole war going on. And then, like Top's alluding to, this episode of Tony Merkel, where in some sort of dream realm, someone's communicating with these entities, also being enlisted essentially into a war. So this isn't the first time I've heard a concept like this. Colin,
And one
would
second,
you say that? Go ahead.
a war, just to, because Colin's gonna get to this story here, but just to put this out there, a war is between two sides. It's not between one side. So like, who's enlisting is a great question before people just jump on, you know, if someone's talking to entities, it's bad. Generally, yeah. But I don't know, just something to think about there. Because I have no clue what's going on. So, you know, Colin, could you tell us about that night? What happened? Because I never really even got the full scoop.
All right. So, well, I'm going to start from the beginning. I was working. I work at a cemetery. I work in death. So, ever since I started working in death, I've had synchronicities in my life. It's just been insane. And I started working here when I was going through the divorce. But I was working at a comedy club here in town, doing security at night, and I hated it. I'd work here at the cemetery during the day. I'd work at the comedy club every night, get home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and do it all over again. I was just a miserable person. So I started eating mushrooms, you know, a gram here, you know, 1.5, and I'd be laughing or whatever. Well, I ate them one night at the comedy club, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching everybody leave for the night, and nothing spectacular is going on. And I hear a voice clear as day from right behind me that says, "Colin, you need to quit here. You need to give yourself over to God. You need to start going to church." And I stood up and looked behind me, like, what in the hell was that? Like I was looking around, had no idea. No one said that. No one was behind me. No one was there. I'm looking around. It scared the living shit out of me. So but I got the sense that this thing knew something about me. So I kind of like started to listen, and that was the first step in all this stuff that started to take place within like a 2-week span.
Colin, can I ask you? I've also heard a voice before in the past, and I was a child when it happened. It was only once in my life, but some of the things. So there's questions that I'm interested in. What was like the tone of this voice? Was it first off, was it male or female, and was it a scary voice? Was it a calm voice? Was it, you know, it kind of gave you an order, right? So I imagine it struck you as very serious. How would you describe it?
It was a male, fatherly, but not like, there was no anger in the tone of it, but stern. Like, hey, listen up, type of thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost like giving you advice.
Yeah, like you need to quit here tonight. You need to give yourself to God, and you need to start going to church immediately. This was on a Saturday. That next Sunday morning, I was at church. I'd never gone to church before on my own, ever. So I quit the Comic Club that night.
Colin, was the voice like overwhelming, or was it just like another dude talking to you?
It was like say there was a chair behind me and somebody leaned up from behind and like to say something in my ear, so they make sure I'd hear it, like right behind my head. And I was standing at the exit door watching the people who came to the show that night, making sure it got out.
One last thing from me. Did you pick it up with your ears, or was this something that, like, when I heard the voice, I distinctively felt like it was audible, but not from my ears. So like, it was like there was a woman in my head, but it was very clear as if I heard it with my ears, but I distinctly felt like it wasn't something that I picked up with my ears.
I turned around and looked, but like it's super loud in the Comic Club, so it had to have been in my head for me to hear it like I heard. You got it's a 300 seat room. It was sold out night. You got quite a few people in the lobby trying to get out.
So it's really interesting because you had, from where I'm sitting, a mixture of things that I'm not saying that this entity was negative. I'm just speaking from my own experiences. You had a lot of things going on that I would say would open one up to an experience. So the psychedelic mushroom use, obviously, right? You've put that together. A lot of people suggest that this is it's a doorway. It opens you up to experiences with things that aren't just psychological hallucinations, but maybe something in a realm that we're not able to perceive in regular waking life, not inundated by a different substance, but also you're describing a situation that is accompanied by a feeling of like depression, right? Like you've gone through a divorce. I would say that there have got to be studies that'll tell you a divorce is in the top 3 most destabilizing, chaotic, and upsetting moments in a person's life. And so, and then on top of it, you're working in a cemetery, which is sort of the backdrop. So it's like the things that are really happening in your life. It's the divorce, I'm sure, is something you're struggling with on the surface level on a daily basis. And then this use of mushrooms, which is happening sporadically behind that. And then the backdrop to all of this is a cemetery. And I mean, man, you really created sort of a perfect storm there.
You got the bingo card of paranormal.
But I guess so, possibly. But the cemetery, it's beautiful. It's 500 and some acres. It's like a forest. So I don't know. I had gone to therapy. I'd gone to the shrinks and shit. And they put me on antidepressants. These entities told me to stop taking the antidepressants. I did. Subsequently, I have not taken anything since. I feel so much better. But yeah, it was interesting. It was a lot to take in while it was all happening, because I felt insane. I still feel insane about all of it. But so, do you want me to continue with the story, or?
Yeah, please.
Before you do that, I do want to ask one question. Do you feel like did you pick the job at the cemetery? Like, was that an opportunity for isolation? Things are getting so much to the point where you kind of just want to be away.
No, I needed a job, and I fit the job perfectly. It's a lot more than just like digging graves and shit. So, but
you operate machinery.
Yeah, heavy equipment and stuff, backhoes, all sorts of stuff. It's without giving away where I work. We've been open since the Civil War, so that'll give you an idea of how old this place is.
Okay. All right. So yeah, let's go forward from here.
All right, so I had that experience that night. I'm walking back to my car after hearing the voice, and it's continuing to talk to me, and it's pretty much I'm it's going through the list of all the shit that I need to be dealing with. You know, typically when you eat mushrooms, you get exposed to all your faults, you know, all your shortcomings in life and everything, and it's going through that. I'm like, oh, okay. And I get what's going on. I'm like, oh, it's here to help. I'm like, all right. So I text my boss the next morning. I said, hey, no fault to you guys, but last night was my last night. I'm not going to be able to work effectively. It was just a second gig anyway. So that week goes by, and I get to the next weekend, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to try this again and eat some mushrooms. I'm going to meditate because I'd read during the week, and I'd listened to some podcasts and stuff about people who can get into that realm. And I was like, well, shit, I'm going to explore that. And first time I meditate with eye mask and with earbuds in, and I'm listening to Solfego beats or whatever, frequency music, and I get shot into this different realm, and I come face to face with this blue entity. It looks like a guy from the Blue Man Group, just a complete blue entity, and he's sitting behind what looks like a control panel of some sort. Like, I don't know, like maybe like what like a TV newsroom looks like, a panel. There's just panels and shit everywhere. I was like, where in the fuck am I? And he looked at me, he goes, well, holy shit. He goes, how are you doing? So I was like, I was just shocked. I was like, I don't know what in the fuck is going on. So it just completely and totally shocked me. And he started to talk to me about stuff. So, you have any questions or anything, or you want me to keep going?
I do have a question. How much? Do you remember how much this time you took?
And how tall was this guy?
See, the thing is, in this place, I'd say average, like an average size of what I am. I'm 6 foot, so it's something like that, but it's not the same space. And time doesn't exist there. If that makes sense.
And how much mushrooms did you consume?
On this time, it was 3 grams.
Is that a lot? I don't know.
Yeah, it was quite a bit for the strain I was taking. Yeah. So
okay.
It was
okay. And did you have like a sense of what, like this image that you likened it to, a newsroom where he's got all these panels and all these TVs? Was it accompanied with any sense of what this guy was? It's almost like you bumped into a dude who was doing a job. You know, that's the impression that I'm getting lately.
Yeah, that's what that's honestly what it felt like. No, I asked him immediately. I go, "Are you God?" And I can't remember if that was the first time I met him or the second time, and he laughed. This thing has a sense of humor. It jokes around, and it laughed and said, "No, I'm just here to help you. I'm one of your guides because you've been having a hard time." I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, yeah, I've been having a hard fucking time. That's for sure.
And
how long has he been your guide? Like that he's just fucking around this whole time until like he's like, all right, this guy really needs me now. The hell?
I've come to find out that I have several different ones that are with me, and they've been with me my entire life. I've been able to look back on when I was younger, different things that's happened, and it ties into all of what's happening now. So this type of stuff's apparently happened my entire life. So
okay, so I very much looking forward to the bigger picture that you're alluding to, but let's give it to us in pieces. So let's continue on from there.
All right, so I get to the point where I can take these mushrooms and I can go back and I can talk to the same entity and we just I can have a conversation with him, and he's giving me advice, you know, on how to do things, and it's all things that are good, like going to church, giving myself to God. I need to read the Bible. I was told to give up meat. I needed to start exercising. I needed to cut toxic people out of my life. Just a laundry list of, you need to do this, do this, do this, listen to this, and we can get you to where you need to be on to your next step in all this. I was always confused on what he meant by the next step in all of this, because I was my goal for all of this. I just wanted to not hurt anymore. I wanted to be the best dad I could be. I wanted to be the best version of myself that I could be. And I was trying to do this work on myself. That was the intent for all of this. I had no intention beyond that. But so we're just going through stuff, and this is going on for like a week and a half.
Colin, can I just interrupt? So I don't have any experience with mushrooms, but it seems like, people look into like party, they'll take mushrooms and maybe they'll trip out a little bit. People looking to explore deeper within themselves, like there's an intentionality to doing that. Do you think that mushrooms work in that way, that you can like almost like, if I take this, then this becomes available to whatever doorway or path I decide to go down? Or is it just a random trip?
No, it's not random. Everything's intention. I prior to this, I'd never had experiences like this with mushrooms, so I don't know. That's where it gets really confusing. Is because I'd had experience with psychedelics, but never experiences like this ever. And I don't know what the difference is. Maybe it's just a different mind space that I'm in now than I was then. But it's different for everybody. I don't recommend it for everybody, because a lot of people should not do them, and I definitely don't recommend to anyone to do what I decided to do. It was drastic times required drastic measures. I really wanted to get better. That's all I wanted. That's all and praying.
Hey, not to get too personal, but was something at this time, like, were you considering like suicide at this? Is that what you're saying?
No. Yes and no. I just my ex-wife and I have less than a good relationship, and we have children involved, and it's really hard when your children live 2 hours away from you to be in their life at all. You know what I mean? So it's just it was that, not being around my kids and everything, and then pretty much having your whole life just flipped over on you out of the blue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because generally, like, we're gonna have Jerry Marzinski on. We're gonna talk about the correlation between schizophrenia and actual demonic possession. Rather than schizophrenia being a thing, it's more likely demons. And this guy he worked in the field for years, and he seems to think that that's the case. But it would just seem that like the demonic possession would want to move you in the other direction, right? Which is why I'm kind of like baffled by this case.
That's, and my girlfriend, she because I was like, I didn't know. I was like, do I tell her that? She knew I was eating mushrooms, and all she knew is I'd eat them and I'd put on an eye mask and I'd lay there for a couple hours, and I'd wake up and I'd be a lot happier. After I'd come back, it was like, holy, it was like sitting there talking with a therapist. I bet I'm in some other realm talking with an entity that, with the help of psilocybin, which sounds insane. But everything this thing was telling me was the truth, and so I was like, all right. So I started to listen to it. I started taking the advice of what this thing that I started to listen to it, and things started to get better. So I go to church every Sunday. I need to get baptized. I haven't done that. I'm 37 and had never gone to church on my own. So it was a pretty profound experience to drag me to church. I actively denied the divine for my entire life. I thought it was for the weak, and I couldn't be more wrong. More wrong.
What
Hey,
what
Colin.
denomination?
I'm just Christian.
Yeah, I mean
I
the church.
that I go to, it's just a Christian church. It's non-denominational. So
Okay.
their mission statement is just to become more like Christ. That's the goal of it. I can get behind it, and people, you can wear football jerseys on Sunday and no one cares. So that's cool.
So it's not like I'm just asking because I know that the church that I grew up in and the one that I used to go to, it's more like the pastor is going to prepare a message. He's going to come up there and he's going to talk to you how we're talking. And there's a big difference between that and the Catholic Church. And I don't want to trash the Catholic Church, but when you go there, it's almost like I think they all read the same thing on the same day, and it's very much like read from this book, put it down. There's not like a personal message. So I'm trying to just like figure out exactly what you're going to church, but what are you hearing there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just we just got done with Matthew. We were talking about Sunday. Finding joy in the mundane thing, finding joy in everything, finding God in everything.
Right.
Looking at look at everything in life and see that's God, that's God, that's God, everything's God, which is what these mushrooms have told me. That there's nothing that is not the divine. The divine is absolutely everything around you, including you. So
if you're created by.
Did these entities, Colin, did they ever explicitly like use the name of Christ?
We talked about Jesus. He didn't say Jesus Christ, and from what I understand, Christ is just the King, and we talked about Christ consciousness, if that makes sense. Turning on the Christ within yourself, that everyone.
When he spoke about Jesus, did it sound like he knew him?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He talked about what Jesus came here to do was to show us what we all can do.
That's interesting. I was just listening to Tony Merkel's episode while I was wrenching away under the car, and they were saying, that in the Bible it talks about Jesus expressing that what he can do in regards to healing, we can do that and so much more. So that's just interesting. It just is a thought that I had. So okay, let's continue on from here. So you're taking these mushrooms, you're having this experience for the better part of a bit longer than a week, from what you described.
Yeah. This entire story takes place over a 4-week span total. So from the January 9th until February 15th. So I'm over the course of that time, I'm eating mushrooms on a nightly basis, and I'm meditating and praying every single night. It's pretty much everything that these things are telling me are biblical. I did not know that they were biblical at the time, but subsequent to going to church on Sundays and hearing what these entities had told me when I was in the place with them, they call it the upper room, I guess. It's going through what you need to do to fulfill what your destiny on earth is to be. You're not like that. We're not here just to work and pay taxes and live this bullshit life that we're all forced to do right now. It doesn't have to be this way.
Man, that I got it already. Like, that's exciting to me because that was something that I think so many of us can resonate with. My entire childhood was spent sort of rebelling against the school system because it just felt like imprisonment. Now, in hindsight, there's a lot of valid reasons as to why it felt like imprisonment.
Literal prison.
Literal, yeah. And now, as an adult, it's like the thing that I struggle with most. I'm blessed to have this job where, like, I can be very I can make my own schedule, come and go as I please. Nobody holds my feet to the fire for anything. I have a really good rapport with my bosses. I can work hard, and then if something comes up, I can go, "Hey, I'm not going to be here for this," and it's no problem. And that really gives me a lot of freedom, which is hugely important to me. And I was always burdened with, and I think so many of us are, that like there's got to be more than just this, right? Like I'm unbelievably satisfied that Top and I are engaging in these conversations with people like you and the other shows that we've done, because honestly, in my mind, these conversations feel like that's what's important, and that they, ideally are going to lead somewhere one day where maybe we can break through something and realize, maybe in the way that you have. But yeah, that whole sentiment, I resonate with that a lot. Right? This is not why we're here. We're not here to pay taxes. We're not here to wage slave away to our deaths, and we're not here to take on an incredible amount of debt and then just die. That's not it. So
That's
yeah,
what
I just wanted to say that's really resonates
that's my
with me.
whole life story, dude. Like I don't know if like you know about what I've been doing the last few years, Colin, because you follow like probably the bullshit that I do on Twitter. That's how you know me. But you kind of realized that in 2020, just left a good job, took a lot of risk, moved to Florida with my entire family, not just me, like my parents too. Moved them on the same land. I'm in on it's not gonna be like clock in, clock out. It can't be that way. There's something more. And how I'm doing it is just completely retarded. But I just feel like, because it's weird, right? Like I'm talking about a divine concept, but I'm doing it by saying the N word. Like.
But it's beautiful.
I say that's poetry, dude. That's poetry.
Everything is divine, though. If you give it back. If you're honoring that everything is beautiful, even the N word, But I like it. I like the brassness.
Yeah, I guess it's just something different that people want to hear. But so please continue. I need to hear the rest of this.
All right. So now I had one really strange experience prior to the abduction experience. But so I walked into my house, and I subsequently have moved. I don't live there anymore. It was Indianapolis. I've moved out of the city into a suburb now. But I walked into my house after coming home from work, and my girlfriend was already home. She has the baby, and I get the feeling, and it like says to me, but telepathically, hey, you need to get like a gram or two mushrooms out, eat them, and then you need to lay down in the spare bedroom. I was like, huh. I was like, so, all right. So I jumped in the shower or whatever, and I went and got them, and I went to put the first mushroom in my mouth, and it touched my lip. And as soon as it touched my lip, my legs, it felt like the mushrooms had kicked in, and I hadn't even consumed them yet. And I was like, whoa. And so I ate them, and it was not 20, 30 seconds afterwards, I heard, lay down now, get the mask on, and get ready. I was like, what in the hell is that? So I did what it said. I lay down in the guest bedroom on the bed, and I'm waiting, and I'm listening to my music, and I just get normal visuals like when I'd eat mushrooms when I was a kid going to concerts and stuff. Nothing happened. I was like, huh. I was like, that was weird. I was like, because I'd been able to regularly go in, and this thing he'd be there every time, and we'd have conversations and stuff, and I'd do the whole psychedelic experience with it. But this time, it just
Colin,
nothing. Yeah.
Really quick, I just want to ask, is it him that's calling you?
I don't know what I don't know. It's what I'm communicating with. I call it there's the mushroom entity, then there's the guides, there's all sorts of different ones. That's the thing. There's different ones that come through depending. If that makes any sense too. But the one where I'm
depending on what
because
they need to tell you.
yeah, there's been different ones each time. Like there's that one that I go when I eat mushrooms, but after my abduction experience, I don't like I had eaten mushrooms a handful of times. That's it. These things come through without that now.
Wait, so which was the abduction experience? Did we?
No, we haven't gotten there yet, right? Oh, that's interesting. It seems
You were
like we
breaking.
Lost. Okay.
Yeah.
Top was asking which one was the abduction experience, but Colin, we haven't gotten there, right?
No, not yet. We're here right now. This is right before it.
Okay, so you they tell you to come, you show up, no one answers the door. What happens?
Yeah, and I didn't know. I just experienced the mushrooms. When they were over, I went to bed and all was well with the world. And as a result of me doing the mushrooms, I was waking up in the morning and I had never felt better in my life ever. I was refreshed. I felt like I was a new person. And I'd go through like daily and be working on myself and like they pretty much told me to like give myself pep talks going throughout the day. You know what I mean? And I was listening to what they were telling me to do, and everything was changed. Everything. So the night of the abduction, we're here. You guys ready?
Yeah,
Yep.
Let's go.
So it's a Saturday. I decide that I'm gonna eat a little more than normal. So I did, and I'm laying on my couch in my living room. My girlfriend had already gone to bed, and I'm getting ready to go in there, and it starts to happen. But this time, I get the feeling that my entire body is going up, like I'm on an elevator of some sort, like I'm moving. And I go to open my eyes. I cannot open my eyes. I can't move either. I begin to panic at this point, and it's going on for quite a while, and it feels like I'm moving really, really, really fucking fast. Seems like for eternity this is going on, and I finally pop into this. I can't describe it. It was like a operating room of some sort. I see lights above me. And then there's 2 or 3 lights above me. Everything's white, and then there's 3 men. All 3 of them are bald. One has a mustache and glasses, and they're all 3 wearing white trench coats. They have ties on. They look like doctors. They see me look at them, and I hear in my head, he's not supposed to see us. And then they come over to me. I started to fight them, trying to get up, but I'm laying on a table of some sort. I don't know. I couldn't really see besides these guys, and I put my arms up, and he just kept saying over and over and over again, "You consented to this. You consented to this. You consented to this before you were born. Stop fighting. Stop fighting us." And I remember, I don't know if I said it or thought it or what, but I go, how could I consent to something that I don't know what it is? What is this? What is happening? And he just kept saying over and over and over, "You consented to this. You consented to this. We're upgrading." And then it gets to the point, "We're upgrading you for a war." And I was just like, what in the fuck? What? and they're holding me down, and the next thing I know, there's a prick in the back of my head, right where your neck goes into your head, slightly to the right of my spine, and I have this sensation of lightning going through my entire body. My back arches on the table. I felt like what someone in an electric chair would had to have gone through. Just the shaking, the most unimaginable pain I've ever felt in my life. I don't know how to describe it. It felt like electricity coming out my fingertips, my toes, my head. Every part of my body was being electrocuted, and then everything went dark.
Everything went what, Colin?
Black, dark. Everything went dark. And then I opened my eyes, and just like you were opening, like I opened my eyes, and instead of being in on Earth, I opened my eyes, and it's like the space that we're in now. So the same distance it felt to where the blue sky is, where the clouds are, is everything is white marble with giant gold veins running through it everywhere. Everything's gold, everything's white marble. In the center of this, which is the size of just like you'd step outside and you're looking at the sky, is this golden mechanical device. It looked like the size of the moon, but in the sky here. And I immediately thought, I go, oh shit, I died. That was my first thought. I'm like, fuck, I died. And as soon as I said that, from behind my head on my right side, I hear, Colin, you aren't dead. And it felt like I was in the presence of God. Like I was around someone who, like, the sense of knowing that I felt in that presence, it's undescribable, absolutely undescribable what that felt like. Words do not do justice. That when I first met that entity, I don't know exactly if it was God, but it was something incredibly powerful and loving, if that makes sense.
Dude, so I'm listening to this, and this I don't know how well versed you are, Colin, in sort of these experiences, right? Whether they're sleep paralysis experiences, alien abduction experiences. But there are key elements that I always draw a correlation to, or a line through, right? It's like a sort of a pattern recognition in these experiences. And I can tell you of my own personal experiences where, well, first I'd like to ask you, this electricity, right, that you felt going through your entire body, was it also accompanied with, like, it was a feeling as well as a sound? Like you were getting all of it, like an
Oh
intense,
yeah, it was.
if somebody, I'm sorry?
100% feeling it. I felt it was horrible.
If somebody described to you a similar situation, but they used words like, I was frozen and there was an intense, painful, like, vibration, could you say that they're using just a different language to describe something very similar?
Yeah, but it definitely couldn't have been misunderstood with cold.
Well, here, let me tell you what I'm getting at. So when I was younger, I started going down this rabbit hole of exploring this concept of shadow people, because I discovered that there was a string of coincidences within my family where they all saw the same entity, and it was a unique shadow person. It's the guy with the hat and the duster coat. People call him the Hat Man. I had found out that my grandmother saw him, as well as my mother. I mean, I'm sorry, my father, as well as a grandmother who wasn't really my grandmother. She was like my stepdad's mom, so she would tell me stories of it, and I started to connect all these dots. And then I ended up reading a book one day that my grandmother said helped her to understand what was happening to her. and it was a book on basically alien abductions. But I start to become fascinated with this. I go down a rabbit hole, and as I'm researching on the internet, this is 2006, 2007, I'm starting to realize that thousands of people are having this experience. So I think to myself, I'm going to have this experience by virtue of researching it, right? It's like if you stare into the abyss. And I was willing to engage with the idea that like it might just manifest in like a nightmare, because I'm not at all suggesting what your experience was, period. This is just my story. So I'm willing to engage with the idea that I might actually trick myself into having like a nightmare. And then I'd have to struggle. This is me like preemptively thinking about it. I might have to struggle with, was that valid, or was that something that I dreamt because of my obsession with this? And so lo and behold, it does end up happening. Now, what ends up happening parallels your story in many ways, but yours is above and beyond in its drama and scale and intensity. And so what happens to me is I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't move, and my entire body's locked up, and I'm experiencing sleep paralysis, and I'm not afraid at all. But I think to myself, oh shit, it's happening, right? So I kind of am trying to get into the mode of like wiggling my body, trying to get out of this. And all of a sudden, I see the shadow of a man move across the room. And as soon as that happens, I'm hit, excuse me, I'm hit with what feels like electricity. My body stiffens up, and all like my fingers, my arms, everything extends to the absolute limits, and I feel this insane electric like it wasn't electric shock, it was electrocution, a constant steady wave of electricity pumping through my entire body. I could feel it was like being attached to the loudest bass speaker ever, and it overwhelmed my senses, and I blacked out. And when I came to, I was in a totally different position. Now, I want to say the electricity did two things: made me black out and filled me with an unbelievable sense of dread, like I've never experienced it in waking life to this day. I wake up. I'm now facing the opposite direction. I was sleeping next to my girlfriend at the time. Her feet are now by my head. And I'm looking at the closet, and pouring out of the closet is an unbelievably bright white light. Everything is white, and it's immense, and it's pouring out. There's no light source in this closet, and yet somehow there is one. And then once again, I'm hit with this unbelievable sense of electricity. My body locks up. I'm basically feel like I'm being like tortured. Like you said, an electric chair is what, like a constant wave of electricity. And then I black out again. That is just, as you're telling this story, there is a series of phenomenons that have this same set of patterns. And I don't think that they're separate at all, right? Because if you're having this in a sleep paralysis shadow people sense, but you're also having this in like an alien abduction sense, or you in particular are having this in some sort of like high level, communal with spiritual entity sense, I'm compelled to believe that there is, if not one in the same happening, a massive overlap in experiences where if it's a Venn diagram, the center section is much bigger than the edges. Did that sound at all like it related to what you experienced?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The thing is, like when I opened my eyes and I was in that other place that was gold and marble, and I had the experience of the all knowing, and I was told, he said, we're going to go over some things you're not going to remember until the time comes. And he said some personal things that I don't know if I want to get into right now, but some personal things, and it definitely piqued my attention, that there's something that is going on, and I have a firm belief that we live in we've always lived in biblical times, and I think that a lot of things that are in the Bible are going to be coming and showing their faces soon, as the impression that I was given, and I'm told that I have some sort of mission for this upcoming war. I'm not qualified for. Um, you know, I don't know what my qualifications that led me to this, but I guess that it was predestined to happen. A lot of this is, from what I've been told. That's the thing. This is just my experience. I didn't believe in all this stuff, and it's a learning experience going along with it. It's pretty fucking scary at the same time too. It's you kind of feel alone because you speak about this to the wrong person, you're labeled insane, and you're actually put in a fucking mental institution or some shit. You know what I mean? So I just don't want. I don't know. It's just the same. And then after that happened, I am not the same fucking person I was before that. Like I'm doing 5-7 miles every morning with 40 to 50 pounds weights on my back, running every morning before work, training, like constantly.
So, do you think, are you like of the mindset that the war will be actually physical, like here with your physical body? Because when we talk about that war, it's like, who knows what it is?
I think it's going to be a combination of both. I just have the feeling that I need to be in the best physical shape that I can be in. I prior to all this, I didn't pray. I pray all the time now. I just it's my girlfriend's like, you were not the same person you were. She's like, I don't know what to think of what happened. Something happened, but like, I'm telling you, this is how it's just crazy.
Hey, Top, that episode with Tony and the guy who said that he felt like he was being recruited essentially for some sort of war, wasn't there a notion that like he distinctly felt like it was for the wrong side, right?
No, I think it was something else approached his brother.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And he felt like that was negative.
Yeah, it was an entity named Ball. So, yeah.
Right, go figure. Colin, it sounds to me like you never got the feeling, and the reason that I'm going in this direction is because if there is a war, and we already have this story, very compelling story on Tony's show of
well, there's another one too.
Recruiting. Yeah, there is another one. You're right.
It's like a members
in a cave system.
This one I'm talking about is a part of the Predator, but it's in the members only or like the overtime or something like that. And the guy tells a story about he's actually having sex with his girlfriend and then blanks out. And he's in a room like filled with this white marble, probably kind of like how you're describing. Yeah.
But this was like Lucifer's throne room in his, right? Like that was what he knew that somehow. But these people are when they're describing their stories, there is no like turn towards God, turn towards Jesus. Like, and it makes sense that I'm not saying that, Colin, your experience is one of being duped. What I'm more getting at is that if one side is recruiting, then the other side is recruiting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's I don't know. It's such a profound experience that took place, and in now. It's like it ebbs and flows where these things will just pop in sometimes, and I can do things that I had never been able to do prior to this experience. It's just I don't know. Since that abduction experience, I think I've only eaten mushrooms twice. So that was twice over the summer. So I'm not on that spiritual quest. I feel like I've gained quite a few answers. with my experiences, so I have a good understanding of what reality is actually like, and it's a lot crazier than I was led to believe. That's for sure.
There's two questions I want to ask you. One is, and a simple yes or no is fine. Is there any time throughout these experiences where you felt like there was a potential for you being deceived by these entities?
I'd ask frequently, ask them questions pertaining to, like I when I accused one of them of being a demon, and he got offended by that. I found that it was just really fucking strange. I was like, what in the hell? But I never got the sense of anything negative. They never asked me to do anything for them. They never asked me to do anything to anybody else. It was all, this is what you need to do to get yourself right. There's a war coming up. You need to get yourself mentally and physically prepared. You need to give yourself to God. You need to start praying. You need to eat healthy. I went to being a vegetarian, eating all organic, and I do what they tell me, and things work out.
The other thing that I wanted to ask you is, you alluded to a moment ago being able to do things that you couldn't do before, and I'm sure this is all part of sort of the betterment of your life from the decisions that you've made at the behest of these entities. What sorts of impacts, improvements, this idea of them upgrading you? I know myself personally, if I went through something like that, I would be searching ad nauseum for that upgrade. What did they do? In what way am I better now? What have you found?
And before I forget, also, did they have names? But yeah, can you answer all that? All those things.
I only one of them told me its name. I never asked. I got the feeling that I was there to listen and to not ask questions. They would tell me that everything that I needed to know. So I did. I did do a meditation, a guided meditation, and one of the entities came through, and he called himself Anu. So I'd never heard that name. I looked up who Anu was, and he's one of the Sumerian god, an Anunnaki, the angel of death. So that wasn't a good thing, I guess. That kind of weirded me the fuck out, to be honest. I was like, holy shit, what am I fucking with? But yeah. So what was the question again?
The other question was the upgrades, but we can get to that in a second. I am more interested in this at the moment. Let's focus in on these entities. For starters, how many would you think you could identify as like, there was 5, there was 6, there was 3?
In the abduction experience, there, like I said, there were 3 guys, and they clearly looked like men, like humans. That's the weird.
So we have the blue guy, Anu, for one. That's not the blue guy, right?
No, I didn't get the feeling that was him.
Right. So that's, I don't know 2 plus the 3 dudes, so that's 5.
Yeah. And then there's probably like 2 or 3 more, like 2 or 3 more, I'd say. There's some angels that come through sometimes too. That's the thing. Like the upgrades go into these things talking to me now, like communicating with me, verbal, like audibly and telepathically and shit like that, like on a daily basis type thing.
When and where? Like, are you focused, or is it just like right now?
Like when they've known that I was going to talk to you guys today, and it's been, and yesterday and today, it's just been like overdrive, like where I get like it's like people with flashcards in my mind. Like I'll see pictures, or sometimes I'll like catch a word, or like if I notice, like if I'm noticing like words on like say 4 different separate things that have absolutely nothing to do with together, I know that's a sign that I need to be paying attention to shit like that. It's like they took the dial and like turned me up from like up to 11, like just like turn my dial where my frequency's adjusted type thing. And I know this sounds all absolutely insane, but like
No,
We also,
listen, that
Dude, I have not even fucking once during this entire episode had that cross my mind.
what is
I
insane is what's insane is how your story is like it's all shit that I'm like, uh-huh, I've thought about
yeah.
this, and it's like
Mhm.
I'm watching Corvo's face pull from different things that he's heard. He's writing stuff down. It's just super interesting. Yeah.
Can I say for a second so I have a very strange I guess a thing that I never said out loud. As I'm going to say it out loud, it's not going to be very strange, especially considering the episode. I always have had a feeling that something is coming, that a war is coming. And when I say I've had a feeling, when I was a kid, I knew it. Like when I was a child, I knew it. I mean, like a little fucking kid, I was obsessed with the idea that something was coming one day, and that um, I was going to be engaged in something. I knew that as a child. And then as I got older, I didn't know that anymore. I just still had the feeling. And as I get older, now I find myself looking for information to reinforce that idea because it's been a lifelong thing that's never gone away from me. I always joke with my wife, um, that when I was a kid, I, I, I just wanted to be like other kids want to be like a fucking firefighter when they grow up, and then they become one. Sometimes you see a kid become a firefighter, and I get jealous of that because when I was a kid, I wanted to be like a fucking like an assassin for good. Like that was what I wanted to be as a fucking child.
I
And
wanted
there's
to
no
be
like normal pathway.
I wanted to be a paleontologist. Then it turns out dinosaurs don't even exist. Incredible.
What a fucking bag of shit. But so I don't think that I'm the only person. I don't think that's even unique, honestly. I think a lot of us probably start out that way because I think you have more of a connection to these realms and also some sort of echoes to I believe that there is a high likelihood we chose to be here during this time. We made a lot of decisions before we got here, and some of those still echo throughout childhood, and then it's this battle of like maintaining it while still being able to function in life, and there's this aspect of life that just crushes that part of your mind. um but yeah, so as you're saying this is not something that I at all think is I don't even think this is fucking strange. So but I wanted to ask you, when it comes to the nature of these entities, was there a separation? Like, in other words, did you get the feeling, and I might explain this badly, but like, were some of them more concerned with this aspect while others may have been more concerned with this aspect of the experience? Because in other words, like almost job delegation. Was there any sense of that at all? And that might be a flat no.
I never thought about it, but absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because some of them were more concerned about me working on my like the physical, and then some are worried about the getting right spiritually and mentally, and working on that type of thing. So yeah, absolutely. I never thought about that. I get the sense that I don't really have much of an option. Like this is what I'm supposed to do, type of thing.
Did
I
they say why they need you?
no, I never asked. The presence is not. It's not something to fuck with. It's what I like the impression I get. Like we're not like this is some serious shit. So that type of thing. So I was just like, I'm right. I'm all ears. like you guys approve that that you know what you're fucking talking about. 'Cause I like my mind you, my anxiety is gone at this point. Like I feel like I'm a completely totally different person. Like I hadn't just experienced the 4 years of like depression and just like that just dread that the divorce had on me. Like it was immediately gone after that abduction. Immediately gone after that abduction experience. Prior to that, I'd been getting better. Everything, all of my shit was gone. It's like I'd been wiped clean. And it's like I got the feeling of like you are forgiven. Like this is your second chance. You need to do this now. I said okay.
Hey,
I don't.
Colin,
Yeah.
when it comes to dreams, ones that you would like, be sure in their definition that this was a dream.
Yeah.
Um, do you find that like uh you have a lot of childhood dreams that you still remember, or just like weird symbolic dreams that stuck with you?
Um. there's only one, and I don't know the meaning behind it though. But there's one from my childhood that I can remember very, very vividly. And it was just my mom as a witch, and it always freaked me out. Just absolutely freaked me out. Like it was my mom, like the Green Witch on the Wizard of Oz. That's what she was dressed up like. And I couldn't have been but 5 or 6 when I had that. So other than that, no. No, I
Okay.
really
I just think.
I don't remember dreams that much,
So,
which is
are you familiar with like this? This is something that I don't know because I'm not well versed in the Bible myself. But it's my understanding that within the Bible, there's a verse that alludes to um, people being portals. Top, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And to me, as you're describing earlier on, right? You're taking these mushrooms. Suddenly, there is a real urgency that you need to take these mushrooms, put this eye mask on, and go lay down. Like you got to do this right now. And
yeah.
nothing happens that night. But then, or is it that night soon after that you have this abduction experience? And the way my mind is going is, I go, this sounds like you had done enough. If people truly are portals, um, the reason, right, that like obviously your physical form is still laying on the bed and yet you are in a room where there's a bright white light, three dudes, they're telling you you shouldn't be able to see them. Um, they're telling you that you've agreed to this, you've given consent. Next thing you know, you're also in a all of these things are happening in a different realm, right? So they're very real, in my opinion, and they're happening to you, but not to your physical form, whether it's your soul or your ethereal form, whatever you want to, whatever name you want to give it. I couldn't pretend to know what to call it. It seems like you did enough work to have that portal open in such a way, and it was almost like that was the last bit that you had to do. So it may have seemed insignificant to you, and this is just obviously I have no way of confirming this. This is just my own psychotic ramblings, but like it seems to me like you got to the point that night where like the gate is fully opened, and now you can travel in a much more conscious way. Maybe these things have always been happening to you, but there's a part of your consciousness that you've not been able to bring. And then all of a sudden, um, you know, like I said, the gate is open, the portal is open, and you can leave and you can go and experience these realms. That is like, when you were saying that story, that popped into my head is this idea that, like, yeah, in the Bible somewhere it calls people portals. And like, we're not opening portals when we're in the kitchen doing dishes. We're not opening portals while we're under the car, changing the oil. Um, so is that happening in a different state, in an astral state? Is the combination of like our souls and our brains that operate somehow as a receiver of like frequencies and things of that nature, do they work in conjunction? Can we open a portal? And is that what you did? Do you feel like that makes any sense at all?
Absolutely. And they also told me that everybody can do what I did. Everybody has that ability. We all do. And it gets back to the root of it, of your beliefs creating reality. And if you take a part of what reality is and you don't even believe in it, it's not going to exist for you. That type of thing, if that makes sense. Like it's the reality is the consciousness. Consciousness creates the reality that we exist in. The material world, this is the great illusion too. You know what I mean? That's what that, like, it felt so much more real there than it does here. This
Man,
doesn't
I've heard
this
that a lot.
this doesn't feel real. That like it I it there's no words that can accurately describe what that place felt like. The feeling of the feeling of not experiencing time. I know that sounds weird to say, but like I vividly remember thinking, holy shit, time doesn't exist here. And that's what made me thought I was dead. I was like, oh no. But then he said from behind me, Colin, you're not dead. And we're going to tell you some things. You're not going to remember everything until the time comes. And it was like just like somebody put their arm around my shoulder and we started to walk. And that's the last thing I remember until I woke up on my couch and about 4 hours had gone.
Do you
And I
at any point has it seemed like they've asked you to worship them? Because you just mentioned that you finished reading or listening to the Book of Enoch today.
no,
s-
I never asked me to worship them. It's always they you talk about God. They call him Source sometimes, the Creator, the one God. It's all it's ever been talked to about to me.
how do they feel
So
about them?
oh, they do everything for him. It's that's the thing. I told my girlfriend I started to slip some things. She's like, I think you're talking to a demon. I was like, but I don't. But why would a demon tell me to give myself to God and that I need to get baptized and I need to start going to church and start taking the kids to church with me and get them involved? That doesn't sound like if that's a demon, he's doing a really, really bad job. You know what I mean?
He's working for the government. Steve.
Yeah, like that. And then it comes to that. I'm like, well, now I've been ever since all this happened. I've been like looking and researching and stuff, and I come to find I think they're called my labs, like military abductions. I'm like, is that what happened to me? Like, or was it because they were men? But
I
then
had well, I mean, look, Colin, if you are engaged in something, and something is reaching out to you, it stands to reason that that could, excuse me, set you off as sort of a target, right? Like the opposition might also be trying to get involved. Um, Maybe not every single one of the experiences was always from the same entities. You know what I mean? It's like,
well,
if
I'll tell you when we're not recording. Top he knows about her. I'll tell you off air at another time about this 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 individual that came into my life shortly after this experience. And
well,
that
so we don't have to get into that, but are you saying that there was like a nefariousness?
oh, abso-fucking-lutely. And I knew it
That's
right from the
interesting.
beginning. I right from the beginning, I knew right away. And I was like, I gotta see
Some
what this is all about. And it was not good.
Somebody
Dude,
sent the fucking ops, bro. That's what happened. That's
this
crazy.
story is so multi-layered. It's crazy. This is
I'm nothing.
yeah.
I'm nobody special. I'm nobody special. Not. You know,
Well,
I'm an
Colin, can I say
underachieving guest.
that I think what makes you, if there is anything special about you, it's the beginning of this episode where you said that you were directly seeking to be better. That was the focus of everything that you were doing. You wanted to be better. You wanted to be a better father. You wanted to be a better person, right? And that drove you to make some extreme decisions. And I think when you're making extreme decisions and you're delving into the spiritual or astral realm, however you want to put it, using these psychedelics, um, you're going to this spiritual realm with the intent to be better, to be good. And I think it's like seek and ye shall find, right? You literally were going off the deep end looking to be better. Where like some people will go off the deep end spiraling, full of hatred, fuck everything, da 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 da, and they will find the equivalency of that. But you went to that place looking for something different than I would say a lot of other people do. So maybe
You'd be
that's
a
what it
very
takes.
you'd be a very good entrepreneur, Colin. I don't know what the entities are telling you to do, but yeah, that kind of mentality, the mentality of like shit's fucked, but I am
Well,
going to drill deep and find a solution is something really successful people do.
well, I was my life had gotten fucked. A large part because of myself and my active denial of the divine. The reason my life has gotten so bad was because of me and my actions that had caused all that. So there was a reason I got into the point where I was willing to take drastic fucking measures to try to become better. I was done. I was done trying to do it on my own. One of the things was I remember when I finally remember submitting when I was in the presence of the knowing, and I submitted, and it was just like it was like it was like everything had been washed off of me. Everything that ever stuck to me that I'd been carrying around for the 37 years of life was gone. And I was like, what in the fuck was that? Like it was just it was mind blowing, you know, because I'd gone to therapy and all sorts of shit trying to feel better, you know, um, and nothing had ever worked ever until this. And as I said, I do not recommend it for anybody, just because it's not something to fuck with at all, because there's bad shit too. There's bad shit everywhere, and we live in it. And I can't believe I lived my life for so long denying that God is in all around us, and that was one of my main
that's
problems.
interesting. You're alluding to like so clearly. So you're like now you're kind of privy. You have this openness where you're able to see the matrix for the ones and zeros that it is. So you can kind of like you can switch your own mindset and really help yourself out, which I feel like you might have done. And I pray that you've done, you know, for your family, for your kids, and whatever you're doing with your life. But you said that there's messed up shit. Are you like also privy to some weird stuff as well?
No, I just that the individual with what I think that they were into and what they were all about. But no, I just I don't I don't have any inside information to any of that type of stuff. It's like it's pretty apparent that there's like Alex Jones is probably right. They are actually, you know, fucking kids and killing them and sacrificing them to Moloch. That's probably going on.
Interdimensional child molesters.
Yeah, that's. I'm like, well, there's some nefarious shit going on. And
no, I don't necessarily mean like that whole like you know, macro. I'm talking about like the micro. Like for me, I don't know. Sometimes like I can get like a feeling about somebody just even meeting them briefly or walking by. I've always had that. My parents have said since I'm like a little kid, like you have a great sense of discernment. I think a pastor told me that.
Absolutely.
So like I imagine with, you know, like how where your headspace is now, especially forget about any kind of upgrades, like just being more mentally clear, you probably have like some kind of heightened sense of these things. And honestly, like when you do come across somebody that you're like, this person's no good, it creeps me out and I can't like quantify why, you know what I mean? I just know. And I'm like, I'm just going to get it. I know now I just fucking get away from this person.
I had the pleasure of shaking the hands of the governor of Indiana, and it was like I saw evil when my skin touched his skin. It was the most fucked up thing. I was like, ooh, oh my god. I was like, that's fucked up. But yeah, that type of stuff is I'm super aware of everything now. Everything. It's like being on super drive all the time.
I want to revisit something you said briefly, and then I'd like to move on to something else, but I want to highlight something that you said as... Go ahead.
I'm going to have to go here in about 5 minutes. I got to go pick up my little one from daycare.
Oh,
all right.
Okay,
so we're
let's wrap it up, guys.
Real quick then. So, and this is a perfect way to end it. But briefly, I want to say what you said before about this idea of, you know, you were responsible for the life that you had before. That to me is the key. It's the major catalyst for the direction that your life is going to go. Do you shake your fist at God and blame every other external force you could possibly imagine for all the shortcomings in your life? Or do you take personal responsibility and recognize that you played the most massive role in your shortcomings in life? And look, man, if you stepped off a curb and you got hit by a car and you're paralyzed, obviously I'm not talking to you, but there's a lot of people out here who are shaking their fists at God because this just didn't go that way, or they just didn't get that, or, you know, how come things don't work out for me? And that is a fucking trap, man. And so I'm really glad that you said that recognizing, David, because I'm a big fan of personal responsibility.
I just want to interrupt because you were talking about the Book of Enoch and you said what I'm going through after you read this book. You said it's just like that. I don't know what you were going to ask, David, but I feel like I need to know this before you go.
Okay, wait. Can we wrap this up together then? If you could figure out a way, because I have to know what you're anticipating as well. Like, you're geared up for a war. This whole thing is about you being geared up for a war. What are you anticipating? What do you suspect the nature of this is? And maybe even when? I mean, within your lifetime, obviously, right? To some degree, that's got to be the impression. And so, yeah, take it from there, whichever way you want to go.
I have a feeling that this corresponds with what's going on with like I think they call it Agenda 2030. What the going on with the global shit? I think the leaders are possessed by actual fucking demons, and we're getting ready to see the return of the Nephilim. In other words, that we're gonna see shit that we've only dreamt about or seen on sci-fi movies. I think is gonna become a reality, and I think that's gonna be happening within within the next 5 to 10 years, if I had to guess.
Buckle up, people. have they ever mentioned?
I think it's all connected. It's all connected. They I a lot of times I'll ask them stuff and they'll tell me I'm not ready. I haven't done the next. I have to wait for the next step. This all has to be done in steps. And to be honest with you, Top, I think you were one of the steps, because we were going to talk about this stuff. How long ago was that? This summer. And they kept telling me you're not ready, you're not ready, you're not ready, and they were getting mad at me. So that's why I kind of was like, what in the fuck's going on? And I kind of disappeared for like a week or so, because it was intense. This is really intense shit. And
yeah,
so I don't know. I think we got a little bit of time. So I don't know.
7 years, guys. We're a condom.
I think 2030 is that's where we're gonna be going. So I just try to get in physical shape. I don't do the whole gun thing. That's just a personal thing. I run 5 to 7 miles every morning with 50 pounds. I do manual labor, digging graves 6 days a week, setting headstones, throwing granite around. So I used to be a fat piece of shit, overweight drunkard. So I'm not that anymore. That's for sure. It's a lot different. I got 6-pack now, so that's good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and just one more thing before you go, because I know you got to get your daughter. What about the Book of Enoch kind of rang some bells to you? Got to know.
The whole how he talked about the angels taking him into heaven and stuff, like that was like, I'm like I've have had that experience where it's like it feels like these are angels that are talking to me. It's not like I'm talking to like a dead grandma or some shit. You know what I mean? Like these things, they're powerful beings that are coming through.
Is it possible? Let me float a theory, and I don't know if this is biblically incorrect, but is it possible? I mean, I know that there's fallen angels. Is it possible that you're talking to some of these, but maybe some of these guys want to get back right in the grace of God? I don't know if they can, but is it possible that they're acting in that manner while there's others that are acting in a completely opposite direction? No,
I don't get that sense. I don't know. And the whole religious thing is all new to me too. Like I said, I just started going to church here in February of this year, and I've really gotten into reading the Bible, audio books on the Bible and stuff like that. So this is all new to me too. But like I'm able to listen to something or to somebody, and I can tell immediately if they're bullshitting or they're telling the truth about anything and everything. Does that make sense?
So you know that I'm completely full of shit then? I guess I'll just stop tweeting.
He's like, these fucking guys. These guys.
Hold on, I'm logging off. I'm going to log off my Twitter right now.
You can say a lot of things about you guys, but you definitely aren't a fake fucking person. And that I respect that. You know, I can tell with you guys that you guys are genuine people. So that's why I decided to talk to you. I'm glad I did.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we could have gone like another 2 hours, but
easily.
It's a perfect place.
I'd be more than happy to talk to you another time. I'll schedule it right. I have to pick up my daughter from school. So,
dude, this is no. Listen, what you did here was perfect, and again, thank you for talking with us. I know this is it was like a big step, and even for us, it's not really the type of show that we do with this show specifically. It's more like Raven does his thing, like this. But I'm glad that you had enough confidence to come in, and enough confidence in me and David to come and talk with us about this, because I think it was mind blowing, and I think it's leading somewhere that's very interesting. People should be thinking about.
Well, like I said, I'm trying to figure this all out too. It's every day's different. So, but I really appreciate it, guys, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Oh yeah, man. Thank
All
you,
right,
Colin.
Colin. Thank you so much.
All right, see
All
ya.
right. Peace
See
out.
ya.
Guys, I think this was a what
Dude,
do you think?
what the fuck? That was, dude, that was incredible. Like, I feel bad because I wish there was some way that I could relate to him, that like there was no part of me that this is probably not good, right? There was no part of me that was skeptical that whole fucking time. Like, I was like, yeah, dude, this guy 100% has been through some shit. This fucking checks out on a really high level, and I'm glad that we had this conversation because this is like this resonates with me very deeply. Like, that was not a dude that was lying, in my opinion. That was a
I'm not
dude
gonna
who,
I was getting annoyed with him throughout the whole time. Like we were talking for 6 months or so, and he kept on was like, "Oh, you're not gonna believe," and I'm like, "Oh, motherfucker! Like you have no idea." And he
yeah, the
came and
shit that I
told us,
believe.
"Yeah, you don't know the shit that I believe. It's wild." But like, yeah, what he told us, I'm like, "I've heard this in places. Heard some of the stuff was kind of new. Some of the stuff, I mean, I think Tony Merkel would definitely want to listen to this episode or at least interview him because there are
Yeah.
things that he said that you can really tie into other stories and try to figure out what was happening here.
That was really the thing about his story, was that none of it, all of it was like it fit a pattern. And that's not to say at all that he made it up. In fact, that validates it even more in my mind, of like, this guy had a genuine experience, an experience that, like, he said, dude, in the book of Enoch, it resonated with him when Enoch was brought up by the angels, and how he felt like that was the same experience he had. And I say that to say that experience is like biblical in nature, it's historical in nature. Like, people, you can find so many people who, and once you get that big of a body of evidence of correlating information and patterns and everything, like, something is for sure happening. That guy is absolutely having an experience. And as hesitant as I am, right, communicating with entities in a sort of a psychedelic realm, that's something that I'm very hesitant, because I think that these things can lie. That being said, the
Mm-hmm.
nature of everything that 100% authentic was my takeaway as well. And
100%.
everything that he said felt positive. It wasn't like these things weren't leading him in any negative way. Not only was he seeing improvements in his own personal life, but also moving him closer to God and moving him closer to Jesus, is like, there's really something there. I think that guy was very genuine and top. Honestly, dude, I would be lying if I said that I wasn't curious about what these beings were saying about us. Like, that fucking, I wish we had time. I'm like, wait, tell me about us, dude. Like, I want to hear I want to hear that shit.
You know what? I wouldn't even ask because I don't think we would get it's not that he would lie to us, but we probably would get like a scattered answer from whatever it actually is. But
Right. But those scattered answers that's where I work in that scattered answer, and I'm like, oh, this shit, oh, that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I think I could pick
yeah.
up something. I would like to ask him off air, privately, that sort of information. At least the impressions that he was getting. It doesn't have to be like, well, they were saying that the Raven is a weird fucking guy because he leads with the Raven, and he's Top is also an anthropomorphic kind of, like, I don't expect information. I probably would expect like impressions and feelings and thoughts about us, not so coherently, but I'd be very interested in knowing that shit.
I wouldn't be surprised if like they'd be like, yeah, these two guys, they might be a pathway for you to do maybe what he just did right now. Who knows? You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, they're just veins. They're veins that you use, and they're going to bring you here. So
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but where here is, I don't know what we just. I had a feeling when we started this episode, and I don't know if people are going to feel this way, but I'm like, the information that I think we're going to get is going to be something that is unique, to say the least, and it's something that a lot of people are going to to it. Obviously, the ones that are not understanding what's going on, but then some in the community will also be like, no, that's a little too much, and I understand that sentiment too. Some are going to look a little deeper into this, and I feel like maybe it's probably not me, I'm retarded, but maybe we can get some like nice strings connected to whatever this bigger picture we're trying to put together.
I think that those angels or whatever they were like these two retards. They're good guys. They're a little retarded, but they're going to help you get this information out. Who knows? Maybe the guy ends up on Merkel. And it's like, at the end of the day, I don't have to necessarily know the nature of what it is. And I don't have to know the answer, and I don't have to know when the shit's going to hit the fan. But I do think that when we connect these dots from one person's experience to the next, and when we connect these dots from sleep paralysis to, his experiences, psychedelics, shadow people, alien abductions, they're all connected in some bigger way. And to me, the main takeaway is there is spiritual warfare happening. And even if he gets to some platform where he can tell that story, and maybe like Merkel can connect a few more dots, and he can compel a few more people, not necessarily to believe this guy one way or the other, that these entities and what their nature is. Because I don't think that's as important. I mean, for him, it's important. He's engaging with
Yeah.
them. But what I think is important for the audience is like, when it comes to pattern recognition, and like, look, bitch, I'm a conspiracy theorist. If there's one, I'm basically retarded, but I notice patterns. That's about the most that I can say about myself, and then I can kind of articulate them, and maybe some other people can pick up on them. This was like high level pattern recognition for me, and all it screams is like, this is spiritual warfare. That's 100% what's going on. We are engaged in spiritual warfare, and a lot of people will poo-poo this other realm, and as to whether or not it exists. I believe it does exist, and I believe that we are engaged in something, that there might come a time where you don't have the option of sitting on the sidelines, and in fact, sitting on the sidelines is casting a vote for the wrong team. And that if this is really happening, to go through life ignoring it and pretending it doesn't exist, I personally think is the wrong move. But to engage on a positive level as a force for good and a force for love and things of that nature is the right way to go. And also, what he said was really powerful. I just want to say quickly about that whole self-responsibility thing. Wherever your life is, if it's in the shitter, like I said, if a fucking meteor hit your house and the insurance doesn't want to pay out, that sucks. I'll give you that. But a lot of us aren't experiencing those extremes, and yet we're still clenching our fists and shouting at the sky, why is this happening to me? Why is everything so fucked up? Why did this person do that? Why did God do this to me? And it's like, the correct path, in my opinion, is self-responsibility. Recognize the role that you played in that, and that is going to be a much quicker way out of the shit than blaming external forces constantly.
Yeah. One of the important things I think that he said too was that he kept saying, like, don't do this. Don't do exactly what I did. It's like, so you're saying you're going to have to eventually pick a side, right? Obviously there's going to be a good and an evil, and it's going to come down to it. I'm just hesitant to, like, obviously I'm not going to be talking to entities that I don't know. But I think the best way, so then it's like the question mark for everyone listening. Well, what do you do? It's like, well, I was like, maybe I should go back to church. Maybe that's one of the things, but I'm not so sure church is exactly where God and Christ are. But read the Bible. There's a ton of information out there that can get you closer mentally to, where you need to be without, talking to mushroom entities, it could be quite risky, because it's like, we don't know what he's talking to. But like you said, what he did confirm is that he is talking to something, and there is a war. This is not the first person that said this. We have multiple stories of people saying this. So it's like, it's coming. Pick your side. I think the right side is obviously God. So pick that side and get closer to God. I wouldn't exactly talk to an entity, because you're just rolling the dice, man. You have no idea. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing in this reality. You think you're going to go like beyond the veil and figure it out? There's no fucking time on the other side. Like, that doesn't exist. What are you going to do? It's
Yeah. I think it also depends on the state of mind that you're in, like, you never really know on the deepest level, like your subconscious, what kind of state you're in. And these things are heavily dependent on what kind of state you're in when you go into them. And so, for Colin, was it a roll of the dice? Was it meant to be that he was in the right state of mind when he entered this the first time, and that set the tone for the future experiences? And then would you be if you went and did this? I ate just shy, I think, of 5 grams of mushrooms once. But to Colin's point, there's a lot of variation in potency. I did not have the experience that he had. I was inundated with epiphanies over and over again about myself and like human nature, why people behave and do the things they do. And it felt like I was getting like a download from something, and there was nothing really menacing in it. It was just like, hey, this is where this comes from. This is why people behave the way they do, especially on like emotional lashing out and things. I got a lot of information about that. Ultimately, I don't fucking remember much of it, but um, I've got no interest in really doing that again. I just think that, uh, you know, the whole talk of like going back to church or not, like, what do you do? I had that experience recently with the evangelical church. That wasn't it for me. We're still searching, but I do think, dude, honestly, not to toot our own horn, but like we're having conversations about, even though we joke about it and it's like retarded schizophrenic shit, this is like maybe, or maybe it's some of the most important shit in this realm. And
This
I
is
think,
what church probably was about, like maybe just after the times of Jesus. After Jesus passed, church was in a house. It wasn't a place with taxes. It was people that were talking to each other about real shit that just happened, like probably crazy stuff. So it's like, that's like they were just bringing knowledge, and it's like, hey, we have this book too that these guys wrote way before. Like, we're gonna read this and let's talk about it. And to me, that's church. Like when you were at my house, my wife's uncle who was there, the next time he came, we kind of just talked about this stuff. And I was like, that's church. You leave feeling like, oh, I asked a bunch of questions. I might have learned something. And there's a congregation, meaning like, there's the conversation between a bunch of people that are kind of talking about things, agreeing, disagreeing. Whereas the modern church is like one guy talking to you. It's good, but I feel like, yeah, people do need to have that more, not intense, but more like, in-person conversation with people where it's like a frank back and forth. That's where I get more than in a sermon. But to each his own.
yeah,
right?
I think that what I try to do is like through conversation and exploration of these different topics, I'm seeking. That's ultimately what I'm doing. And, I think that you have to have a compass, right, while you're going around in the dark. And my compass, I desire it to always point towards God. And I think that that's about as much as we could do. We're just feeble fucking humans, Don't sit on the sidelines. Engage and learn and seek, but always keep in mind that there are traps and there is a negative side to this. And so always aim towards God, but use that as the flashlight, use that as the compass, as your true north. Don't just jump in it for the sake of exploration with no real intent towards aiming towards something good. It's not something good. That's too vague. Aim towards God. There is, like we've been saying, and I think it's an appropriate place to end it is, that's the big takeaway, guys, is this is spiritual warfare. And maybe you're lucky enough to not have it at the forefront of your life where like you can go through, you're not having sleep paralysis, you're not getting abducted in the middle of the night, you're not, having all these terrifying experiences. But I think the fact of the matter is there's no such thing as sitting on the sidelines. And if you would stop and just pay attention to the patterns, you would see something that you would only dismiss emotionally out of fear of kind of breaking your worldview. But if you can get over that and just admit, like, yeah, there is data here, there is patterns here. It may not be as tangible as you'd like, but we don't always get what we'd like. There is something here, though, otherwise. And if it points to a war, you cannot be a neutral party in a spiritual war because it's launched against us.
Well said. Yeah. It's what did Trump always say? They're not coming for me. They're coming for you. They're coming for you. It's very much about people. I think that's what the show's about. That's like Nephilim Death Squad. Why would fallen angels subvert humankind to pervert their bloodline? It's all about the human being, the person, that whatever God made, why he made it so special. We don't really know. What are we capable of? And I don't know. Some people say people can fly. Maybe, but definitely we're special. We don't know why. Start figuring it out. Start thinking about it at least. Like, this is not, we're not just random shit spinning through space, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Fuck you.
Yeah.
There's something more going on here. That's like, if I wanted people to fall asleep and not be thinking about why they're special, why God would create them, it's the perfect thing to do, and just completely make you feel useless. Whereas, and then, you end up with like an OnlyFans society, which we have right now. So that's my rant. I think we beat these people over the head with this stuff already. David, you ready to get out of here?
Oh God, my voice cracked. Yeah, I am. Guys, don't forget to go to toplobster.com. We rolled out the merch. Go and get yourself a banger of a hoodie or a t-shirt or a hat. We got Nephilim shirts. We got Nephilim Death Squad shirts. Really awesome designs that Top whipped up. We just launched those just the other day. There we go. Toplobster.com. Go and get your merch. And man, wear that shit outside and see if that doesn't get you a couple of questions.
See if that doesn't get you beat up.
I got the one in the the bottom right corner, the Nephilim Death Squad, because I wanted people to be like, "What the fuck is that?" Like, Nephilim Death Squad. I got to get the hat next. I got to get the hat coming in. But yeah, go and get the merch. And just real quick, thank you guys. I finally got to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube for the Ravens Watch, and my Twitter is crushing. And also, I just made an appearance on Elijah Schaefer's show. That's a tongue twister. Last night, Slightly Offensive. So go check that out. And I think that's it for me. Top.
Tomorrow, all this great stuff that we said about God and we're gonna just
disappoint him tomorrow.
It's like, don't turn the computer on for this, God. It's gonna. No, I mean, listen. I think that I do think that there's a place for comedy, and obviously, like, what we're doing there is all just like we're exposing, we're shining a light on the lies that, like, you can't say these things. We're trying to make it funny, trying to blow off steam. If you like doing that, come hang with us at Tower Gang. You already know. They already know. Peace out, guys.
The greatest hypnotist on planet Earth is a oblong box in the corner of the room. It is constantly telling us what to believe is real. If you can persuade people that what they see with their eyes is what there is to see, you got them. Because they'll laugh in the face of an explanation that portrays the bigger picture of what's happening. And they have.